Prostate.
Good evening, all. Alright. Perfect timing there, Kara. Alright, I got Neil with me here for the final trial of the stolen turnabout, in which I'm sure nothing new will be revealed to us and everything will be wrapped up quite nicely and as expected. Alright, this is a very at-me-heavy section, I'm sure you can imagine, so this is gonna be a lot of fun. Hope you guys are ready for that. How have you been today, Neil?
Oh, I've been good. This is my last day with Dimitri here. Dimitri is boarding the plane soon.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, Mickey was very sad, actually.
Would you say Mickey was sad?
Yeah, Mickey was, like,
that's
moping on the floor where Dimitri's suitcase was.
Oh, poor puppy. Okay, well, on that note, let's get a little cheerier with this next trial.
I'm very excited for this.
Oh yeah, me too. So let me get in the game. On that note, let's get a little. Alrighty. Hey, Nick! What is it this time?
You won't believe how many people are here for the trial!
Well, it is a murder case.
What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door!
Next door?
Why don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Atme's trial today!
My god, the Atme Hive turned out in full force. God, do you think he has, like, groupies? Like, at this point where everybody thinks he's, like, some dashing detective who created his own rival?
Oh, I'm sure he has a lot of fans. I'm sure all of Mask to Mask fans flock to him.
Oh, of course they do. Detective Atme? Oh, come on, Phoenix, you know who that is.
They say they're going to try him as Mask to Mask!
Already? That was fast.
Boy, I'd love to see Mask to Mask's trial.
I don't fucking know who that is.
Me neither.
By the way, where's Pearls?
Oh, she went back home. See, she said she can't neglect her training anymore.
Oh, I bet it's Ronald.
Ron?
I think it's Ronald.
I know you don't like me.
Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh?
Yeah, ever since that incident last year.
Please, don't ignore me.
Oh, Mr. Delight! Good morning.
No one likes me.
Untrue. We love you.
No one would notice me even if I killed someone.
Come on, don't be silly. Wait a sec.
You don't mean you're the murderer?
No. I'm just a poor thief. No, wait. Oh, that's not right. A thief can't really be poor.
Well, I guess that's technically correct. Now, let's see. According to Mr. Delight, from his second crime on, he was following a bunch of set plans. Plans that someone had been sending him to help him commit the heists.
Do you really think there's a connection between the thief and the murderer, Nick?
It's possible. Today's trial is a race against the clock.
Huh? How come? Let's just take our time like always.
I'm afraid that's not an option.
Huh?
He then failed to elaborate.
I'm gonna get up the coffee tracker again.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron Delight. The defense is ready, Your Honor. You're ready? Preparation is the last refuge of the weak. Which is to say, he's flying by the seat of his pants. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin with your opening statement, Mr. Godot. He's got the judge in the palm of his hand. Yet again. Ron Delight is simply too young to be sent to war. That's all. I'm afraid I have no idea what that means, Mr. Godot. Ha! Need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is war. But that is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording.
Number one.
Yeah, there's his first one. That's all my statement means. You understand now, right? Please don't mind my fire alarm going off. My sister's cooking dinner, and the fire alarm, or the smoke alarm goes off whenever you open the oven, and it's above 400 degrees. So, yeah, it's off. It's off now. It's fine. My apartment is not burning down. Yes. Well then, let me briefly summarize the details of this case. Wow, the judge is taking charge like he knows what's going on for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. His body was found in a safe at approximately 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated as 1 a.m. of the previous day. And that's when our little lost kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten is, of course, the defendant. Oh my god, he's already being weird. Very well then, Mr. Godot. I'm going to ignore your remark about the defense. Please call your first witness. I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee during any given trial. But
I'm gonna write that down and see if.
Let's see if he makes it past 17 this time. But the first one is always the best. Mr. Godot, your witness? Okay then. Let's hear what the defendant, Mr. Ron Delight, has to say for himself. The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any objections? It may be a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. Delight to testify. Ha! You've got guts, Trite. Alright then, Mr. Ron Delight, please take the stand. You did it, didn't you?
Yeah. No, that's not true.
For a moment there, I thought we'd set the record for the shortest trial ever.
Well, Mr. Delight already looks plenty guilty with that face he's making.
Once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his own coffin. Very well. Now then, can you tell me something? If You didn't kill Bullard. Why did you go to KB Security?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. Boy, I wish I could go home. Poor Ronnie.
Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened.
That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security.
I want to go home. I want to nestle into my wife's safe, loving arms.
The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was.
And that's it. Okay. 1 a.m. The exact time the murder took place. The weak get washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. The tides of fate? Ha! It's bitter today, too. Just like my destiny.
You'd never know that from the way he's chucking it down.
Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. Okay. Went there around 1 a.m. The blackmail letter told me to go there. It ordered you there?
It was the first time I'd gotten a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere.
Does that mean you've gotten other blackmail letters then?
Oh, of course. Well, they say things like, steal this or take that.
Well, why don't you save those for later, Mr. Delight? Please don't say any more. Now, what should I do? Press harder. So, what did the blackmail letter in question say?
It said to bring $50,000.
Money, eh? The perfect motive for committing murder.
Oh, but wait! I never intended to pay that money anyway.
Oh? Is that right?
After all, he had nothing to hold over my head. I had nothing to be afraid of.
An important point indeed. Witness, let's have that added to your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Ha! A muddy mud skipper in outer space has a better chance of surviving than I do. I don't know, he doesn't seem to be all that jazzed with the fact that Ron just admitted to having, like, fully no motive. So I think he would be more excited about that.
I like how everyone ignored the other blackmail, though.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big bomb he dropped there on the court.
Ordered me to go there. I don't know why he's not working there anymore. You used to be a security chief for KB Security, right?
Oh, that's right.
A security chief? You? And yet, a year ago, you were fired without notice. Revenge for an old grudge. A perfect motive for murder, wouldn't you say? This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject? I want to know why you were fired. Mr. Delight, please tell us why you were fired from your job.
What, wow.
The world is filled with those who have said, I wish I'd never asked that. Okay, then I take it back. Defendant, please answer the question.
I needed money.
You needed money?
Well, you see, Desi loves to spend it. It's kind of a hobby.
Not exactly the best hobby in the world, huh, Nick?
My salary wasn't nearly enough. So I stole data from the company.
Come again?
KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies.
You don't say.
And since I was the security team chief,
You stole some data and sold it.
Mr. Bullock found out and I was fired immediately.
What? I wish I had never asked that.
I was somehow able to keep it secret, made it seem like I quit on my own.
Oh, what is it, Nick? You don't look so good.
Someone who brings harm to their company is fired as punishment. You do well to remember that.
He sure told you.
So you admit that you stole data from your company, is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
This is a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony. Oh man, this whole thing just took a big turn for the worse. Crashed and blew up. It's gonna take the jaws of life to rip this case from the clutches of disaster.
He fired me for selling company secrets, but Desi doesn't know about that.
But you said the blackmail was Hey Octa, good to see you. Just what were you being blackmailed about anyway? The blackmail letter said, if you don't want your identity revealed, correct?
Sure, it was referring to the whole mask-to-mask thing.
Objection!
Tisk. I'm afraid that reason isn't going to hold up anymore. What do you mean? The victim had no proof the defendant was mask-to-mask. But you were the one who stole company secrets only a year earlier.
But that was all over with once I was fired. But it is true, the fact that I stole secrets was kept under wraps. Even so, there was no reason for me to pay up now, a whole year later.
Is that really true?
What is it, Nick?
The fact that Ron was stealing company data, I wonder if he would have had a problem if that ever became public knowledge? I think yeah. Mr. Delight, I believe you would have been in considerable trouble if your identity as a company data thief was made public. Mr. Wright, what are you trying to do by bullying your own client? Men are like colonies of bacteria. The more heat you apply, the faster they grow. What the fuck does that mean? That's exactly right! Oh, well then, feel free to keep up the heat, my little lawyer amigo. Little lawyer amigo? Yes, come on, provide some evidence to back up your assertion. Why would Mr. Delight want to keep his data-stealing secret from going public?
I think that's cup number 2, if I didn't miss one.
Yeah. Because of his wife! Mr. Delight, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday.
Huh? What doesn't?
I think you must have been scared. Very scared. Of having a certain person find out your secret.
Ooh.
A certain person? Miss Desiree Delight, the defendant's wife.
But listen to me. My Desi, she's...
Looks like if I just sit back and relax, the fun will end before it truly begins. Gah! Yeah, we know. It was all your wife's fault. What do you mean? Mr. Delight stole company data to pay for his wife's spending habit, for which he was fired. Unable to face his own wife, someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that is how this murder came about. Oh. No! Everything is falling neatly into place for him!
Oh, don't talk about my Desi like that. Or he'll be sorry.
Well, it seems that we've learned a great deal of things here so far.
What do you think, Nick?
I didn't think it was possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes. You just spent a whole game with Francisca. You know that's possible. Clearly, there was sufficient motive for murder. He stole data for his wife, and he killed to protect his secret. A family man who cared just a little too much. The motive is clear. Let's move on. What happened at the crime scene at 1 in the morning, Mr. Delight? Come now, tell us. We're all ears. At the CEO's office.
When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
Oh yeah, a suspicious Atme-shaped shadow.
Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there, dead.
I see. Suddenly hit on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided similar testimony. He said that Master Mask struck him on the head from behind. Of course. Since Atme turned out to be the culprit himself, that was all a lie. Ha! No one's going to believe a pathetic lie like that.
What are you saying? I really was attacked.
We'll find out if what you say is true or not during the cross-examination. You got that, Mr. Tripe? Don't go easy just because he's your client. If I see any sign that you are, I'll treat you to another cup of my special blend.
That's number 3.
You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it. Kind of speaks a lot to Ron's character that, like, the very next trial we see Phoenix take, after the whole, like, Mad on Guard and Phoenix's first guilty client debacle, like, that he still fully trusts Ron.
Yeah.
Like, it trusts in his innocence. Okay, when I entered the office, there's a suspicious shadow. Head on the forehead. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. So, you gotta elaborate. That? Could you please clarify what you were referring to?
Why my mask-to-mask costumes, of course.
Wait just a moment! Mask to mask?
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as mask. And then I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security.
What?
Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this.
I don't recall him ever mentioning it to me either. Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets.
I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Oh, wait. That's not right, you know how sometimes things just slip your mind.
Huh. My 6th cup of coffee is staring up at me coldly.
Okay, apparently that's 6. I'm going to modify this to say that's 6 now.
Okay.
I had counted 3, but if he says 6...
At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony. I guess he's just chugging them off screen too. I'd have been killed.
I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my mask-to-mask costume. Also, yeah, he probably is.
Why were you dressed up as Mask to Mask?
Why? Because I'm mask-to-mask, of course.
G'doy! What are you talking about? Mask to Mask's trial is being held next door.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the mask-to-mask issue. So I thought I should go as him just to be safe.
Oh boy.
Well, let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I had expected.
Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a lot longer?
Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught on the safe door, you see.
Oh, see? And that's why we don't wear capes, Ronnie.
So this all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bullard's body.
Whoa, what was that? Back up a second!
Yes.
You were the one that hid the body in the safe?
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable!
Oh, Raw.
Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they take them off. When they poop themselves. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying. Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer? So you're not as stupid as you look.
His metaphor this time was really obscure.
Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you? Well, yes. Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving in over the Fairweather Judge.
Oh, I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes.
I don't really need to press this, but I think that you get a little bit of funny dialogue here. Why didn't you hide the body in the safe anyway?
Well, because it wouldn't fit in a drawer.
That's not exactly what I meant.
When I saw that corpse, I kinda lost it. I thought if I find his corpse, they'll think I did it.
Huh. I think you had a simpler reason than that. It's because you killed him. That's why you spent 10 minutes hiding the body. That certainly makes more sense. Hold on. 10 minutes?
What is it, Nick?
I just had a thought. Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide the body? And spend 10 whole minutes to do it?
Under those circumstances? What circumstances? Oh! Hey, Nick! If you think his behavior was so strange, why don't you present some evidence that would show just what those circumstances were?
That's it! I'll take a look at the court. Okay, yeah, this is a hint I didn't really need, but...
We heard this from Mr. Delight yesterday, didn't we?
There's not much in this testimony either.
I betcha he's still hiding something.
I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just have to draw it out of him.
I just hope he doesn't make things any more complicated.
Okay, so back to that last sentence. He spent 10 minutes trying to hide the body despite the fact that the alarm would have been going off right that moment. Hi, Mr. Gender. Hello, Nikki. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, a security team is supposed to come run it. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02 a.m. What? If Mr. Rondelite truly was the murderer, he would have ran as soon as that buzzer sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way. Huh. Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He probably had no idea there were security personnel in the building. I think he had the most idea. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about them. But, as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser, who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend. Godot's face deal doesn't get explained until near the end of the game. And wasn't anywhere in the vicinity was not something that Mr. Delight could have known. Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Mr. Delight didn't even notice the buzzer going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There's no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? What do you mean by that? What's it, 7 or 8?
Oh, that is 7.
Okay. Fine. Let's hear your theory. Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So what are you trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out, and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. And now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer. Order in the court. Mr. Wright, this is... This is preposterous. It was this kid, Ron Delight, is the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then who pressed the buzzer? It was... the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene. But how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? Oh, yes I can! The defense's opinion is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. It's the fact that there were no fingerprints on the buzzer. Take that! I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for. The emergency buzzer? Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue. Now I'm the one who's clueless. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind. Ron Delight obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button. I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed as Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have had to wipe the button free of fingerprints? It would seem...
Okay, that is number 8.
I've been forced to eat crow.
I wonder what blend number crow-flavored coffee is.
I don't know, but you can always ask Kay Faraday. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? It looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. Yeah!
They're onto you, Nick!
Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. Well, the real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 a.m.
And Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right?
The killer clobbered Mr. Delight and then sounded the buzzer.
Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed.
Security was supposed to respond? Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Very well, then. You've got some guts. I like that, an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer? To find out what it did. To call the security. They just like pressing buttons. The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted. Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose? Yes, although as it turned out, he never showed up.
Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time.
What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in? No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron Delight, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer, Among Us. Look at me, Among Us. Hypothetically, yes. Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and Ron Delight.
And if any security guards came running in at that time. I would think I was the murderer.
Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron Delight for the murder. It would seem... Number 9.
Number 9, yeah.
I've been made to eat my words once again.
Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee.
Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the only one. I'm the one only mask to mask, so...
Nick, you mean the real killer is...
We're going to drag that person in here right now.
But, who is it?
I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Mr. Ron Delight for the murder of Kane Bullard? It was... Pearl Fay. It was... Puke at me.
Sorry.
Detective Luke at me. He's the only one who could have done it. Ace Detective?
Not me.
You mean Mask to Mask did it? Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not Mask to Mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard. Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Theft and murder. Which is the more serious crime? They're not even close. Murder is the more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to a capital punishment. Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke at me confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom. Of course, the famous detective was unmasked as, well, as a mask to mask. Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty. Mask to Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Mask to Mask was Luke Abbey's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi. A guilty verdict as an alibi. You know, it's almost time. For what? For Luke Atmey's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial, after all. If we're gonna stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course, that's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Luke Atmey's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and failed to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal. Am I really sure about this? If Luke Atmey gets the death penalty, I'm gonna lose my mind. That's only good when your life's the ante.
Mr. Wright, I believe in you.
Mr. Delight?
So please, I'm begging you.
Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Phoenix? What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. That voice, it sounds like Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. So that's your answer, huh? Very well, I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke Atmey to the stand. Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Sir Detective Atmey.
I have to say, Mr. Kane, you performed splendidly.
Oh no, Sir Detective Atmey. You were the one who... That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds a defendant, look at me.
Summon Luke at me in defense position? Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet! Please!
Well, that's Sir Lawyer. Welcome to my courtroom. Welcome to the bathroom.
I was gonna say, welcome to my twisted mind, but I like welcome to the bathroom a lot more. Welcome to the bathroom. Who's this hoser, eh? I forgot he was Canadian.
Yeah, this is the Canadian judge.
Yeah, that's his whole shtick is being the Canadian judge. My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law, and I wish to file an accusation against this man, look at me.
Accusation? You accuse Master Mask?
That man is not Master Mask. That's not my Master Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer. What? Uh-oh. Okay, I know this is where I would normally take a recess. Well, I meant like an intermission. I didn't mean... I guess a recess from the stream for a minute, but I'm gonna get a little bit more into the second part and then do it, because this next part's longer than the first one. He's a walking clickbait article.
My sis?
I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice. Oh, come on, Phoenix. This happens to you every trial. This is old news by now.
So then, she's still alive. Inside your heart.
Nicky boy. Or, do you want to take Desiree too this time?
Do you want me to? I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright.
Oh, Miss Delight.
Is it true that Detective is the real killer?
To be honest, we don't have any definite proof. But he's the only one who could have done it.
But wasn't he at Lordly Taylor that night?
Not to mention, we don't exactly know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Atme want to kill Kane Bullard?
Oops, it's almost time. Better get back to the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof. And it's gotta happen sooner rather than later.
Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Atme, please take the stand.
Well then, how do you do, sir? How do you do, Sir Lawyer?
Wasn't this case almost in Ace Attorney 2? That sounds kind of familiar, but I can't say for certain. I wish it was so Francisca could kill Atme and Silly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Atme wouldn't have made it this far in a trial if Francisca was his prosecutor.
That's true. I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly.
I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. Not when it would have given you your perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Mask to Mask.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atme has no idea what you mean.
And he's referring to himself in the third person. That's so great.
Of course, I have been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here.
You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Mask to Mask.
Indeed. It's truly child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine finger, for example.
Oh my god, the Amulet of Kings! So you continue to insist that you are, in fact, Mask to Mask?
Of course.
Very well then, look at me. Let us begin with this simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., Kane Bullard was murdered. Where were you at that time?
One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. But don't worry. I will not hold it against you, sir judge.
Thanks.
That is number 10?
Oh, halfway, or little over halfway there. Alright, Mr. Atme. The night of the murder. Speak. We're all ears.
As you wish, Sir Prosecutor.
And when he said, as you wish, what he meant was, I love you.
I was stealing the earnest mask to mask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. The time at which the camera captured Mask to Mask was the same time as the murder.
How convenient for you.
The exact time.
It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene. Everything else up until now was all part of his plan. All according to Keikaku. Keikaku means plan. There has to be a secret to this picture as well.
Even the great Mask to Mask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we still have to do your cross-examination.
A fool is too foolish to know that he is a fool.
Hey, Francisco von Karma's in Europe right now. Stop it. You're copyright infringing.
I think he's trying to say you're full of it, Nick.
The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. The only thing... Because they can't say shit in an E10 game. Sad. Okay. A pathetically easy job. I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point.
That's right. That was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
You sent the calling card to Lordly Taylor 10 days before the heist.
I don't know why, but
No, wait. I don't know why, but I suddenly feel the need to go to America and kick Phoenix Wright's butt. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right?
Indeed. There was no reason why I couldn't do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest target.
I see. You truly are evil, aren't you?
Yes, evil is what I am.
I'm evil. I'm evil. I'm evil. I'm evil. I do epic stunts like motherfucking Knievel.
Words, because I'm the fucking evil.
hey, Nick, isn't there something odd about this?
Wait, hang on a minute. I have to take the opportunity to promo the evil rap. Give me
Oh,
a minute.
please do!
I'll post a link in chat. I think
It's
I'm
very
allowed to
close
post.
to my heart ever since you showed me it.
It gets stuck in my head every time I remember it. Alright. Here, everyone take a moment to appreciate the evil rap.
Hey, Nick, isn't there something odd about this?
Huh?
Detective Atney was always proud of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lordly Taylor while he was the only one watching it...
Yeah, dude, Koo was freaking hilarious. He's one of my favorite streamers, honestly.
He'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona.
You know, that's true. It is kind of odd. Okay. So let's talk about the extremely convenient timing of this camera. About the camera that took this photograph.
Oh, come now. It's all too clear what you're thinking.
Huh?
You think I altered the timestamp on the photograph, don't you?
I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lordly Taylor. And on top of that, it was Lordly Taylor's staff that printed that picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way that picture could have been altered. I see. Looks like I'd better find something else that could be suspicious.
So, this alibi is false?
It has to be, or he couldn't have killed Mr. Bullard at KB Security.
But I'm not really spotting anything unusual.
There are two possibilities. Either the mask in the photo is a fake. Pardon me. Or the photo itself is. Give me one moment. Sorry, I had to cough really bad, and since the little on-off switch for my mic doesn't work, I had to, like, you know, tab out and manually mute myself on both programs, just so that just so I could do it without disturbing anyone. Okay, stealing the urn. More no time to prepare. Photograph was my witness. So by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here. Is that correct?
Indeed it is. That is it. The very thing that proves I committed the crime.
The very thing that proves you committed the crime. Surely even you understand by now.
Lordly Taylor provided that camera. There's no way I could have tampered with it. That means I could not have killed King Bullard, unless I had an accomplice.
Come on, think long and hard about that night. The basement warehouse, and this picture that supposedly captures it. It's gotta be here. Isn't there something funny about this picture? Oh, you bet there is.
Are you implying that the picture is a fake?
You bet I am. There's clearly something strange about this picture. We took a look around the basement warehouse that night before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't match my memory of that night. Very well, then let's hear what you have to say. What about this photograph did you find funny? The paint splotch. The funny part is right here. Why, this is a blood stain. Ah, blood! Now this case is getting interesting.
Judge?
Judge? Is there a certain high school murder mystery game that you like to play in your off time? Not exactly. This stain is actually pink paint. Oh, just paint. And peach colored at that. From blood to peaches. This judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. Haha, blood! That's so funny! The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse. It turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Ooh. He knows he fucked up. Well, Mr. Wright, what is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains? The one and only Ami Faye. The supervisor of the treasure exhibit stated the following.
Well, there's a good reason for that. On the day of the crime, around noon, that golden statue just happened to arrive from the mountain training hall. I realized the statue would be the perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it.
I myself was there the night the theft took place, and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken on that night, then that statue should have been there.
Objection!
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was somehow pushed there accidentally? Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself, and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it that distance. Old bag. Almost miss her. Well, she's gonna show up again in an investigation, so we're not free of her just yet. Huh. In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why that statue was moved that night?
Can you do it, Nick?
Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you are prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved the golden statue on the night of the crime? Oh, it can only be... The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Atme.
Come now, Sir Lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions.
You come now. Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night.
That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue?
The reason for moving the golden statue. Here's where our battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Luke Atme, you pretended to be Mask to Mask, to create an alibi by showing you were at Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like cheap film at a drugstore. That is why you had to move the statue. I guess Luke Atme has like a nose binder for wearing that mask. A single fatal flaw? Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Hatsune Miku nose binder. Naturally, the lie in this photo is the timestamp. He's thinking about a new type of top surgery. Yeah, like an even farther top surgery. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atme went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. Absolutely no amount of surgery will make him an alpha male. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time. But what does that have to do with the statue being moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor, when was this statue placed besides the warehouse door? Well, the statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime. Oh, welcome back, Bunny. I'm so glad everyone loved your chicken. We're doing great. What about you, Neil?
I want some chicken now.
Chicken. Hey, Bunny, you want to make more chicken for us? Just send it to
Forget Moe's, we're going to Bunny's.
yeah. Yeah, okay, stream field trip to Bunny's house. Alright, yeah, we're doing great, Mr. Atme, not so much. It was placed there in order to cover up the paint. Exactly! I'm so glad we're agreeing on this, Mr. Cadeau. Luke Atme had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so, in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place. What the? Of course, the statue hadn't been brought down to the basement warehouse yet. Ah. So, on the day of the crime, Mr. Atme must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atme had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in his photo. What? Mr. Atme, is this true?
One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this?
What's that?
The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime.
It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Mr. Godot, what is the meaning of this? God, that's like the judge's favorite phrase. Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down.
Oh, this is 11th cup, which means I'm... Oh, no, that's true. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That actually lined up.
It all adds up. Okay. My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial, which means I'm still good till the last drop. However, the defense has a very good point. A good point? So what? We are all the travelers on a road of infinite points. They're the quest markers in Skyrim. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim VR in this thing.
I think he's got his points mixed up with his other points.
So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that the statue was moved in order to make it match. It's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied. Which is?
It's 12 now.
That it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams. That's very true. No way! Don't fall for that, Your Honor. Hey, Mr. Damask.
Yes.
It'd be really funny if he and Ron both spoke up in unison.
Yeah.
If there's no funny business in your actions as Mask to Mask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it. Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the sacred urn. Alright, before we do his next testimony, I'm gonna take a quick break just to stretch and refill my drink and stuff. Alright, everybody, do whatever you need to do. We will be right back.
Svari. Svari. Svari.
Alright, I'm back. I don't know if Neil is yet, though, so how's everyone
I
in
am.
chat doing this evening? Oh wait, was that you, Neil?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh,
Hi.
hello, hi, welcome back.
I am.
Sorry, I didn't mean to Ron delight you on purpose.
It's okay. Mickey is being so clingy tonight.
Oh, I bet he is. Poor little guy.
Little guy. Cannot play fetch with you right now.
Look at our. Alright. Sorry, I had to talk to someone that came into my room. Okay. Anyway, now let's go back to the game. Alright, the Sacred Urn Heist.
I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed into a box and sorry. It was then sent to the warehouse. And so I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 AM on October 12th.
That's pretty much all stuff we've heard before, isn't it?
Yeah, but we will find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time?
Very
Well then, Mr. Rice, you may begin your cross-examination. Unfortunately for him, this cross-examination isn't going to take very long. To the security at Lordly Taylor, I'll be coming to purloin the most priceless work of art on display into our Treasure of Carine exhibit. Take good care of the speckled urn, won't you? Yours truly, Mask to Mask. Mr. Atme, if you really are Mask to Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct?
But of course.
Is there a problem with that calling card? Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Mask to Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to this pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true, but so what? Truth be told, there's no way that Mask to Mask could have known about this pattern.
What do you mean?
This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor.
Oh, that is...
I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite. The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say, an error-prone human. That's not very nice. She's not even here to defend herself. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn. Ugh, you can't be serious. And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atme had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water.
What was that supposed to be?
That's like the kind of noise that Bowser makes if you knock him off the road in Mario Kart. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Oh good, he knows his alphabet. Alright, that did it. He's broken.
Nick, I think it's still a little early for a victory pose.
Huh? I'm not posing. Of course not.
14 already! I chose that one.
It's so sad. No one has any conviction these days. Conviction, you say? Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Mask to Mask. And now, we're calling him a murderer. You don't think we're being a tad fickle? That's a good point. No way! Don't fall for that too, Your Honor! You say that Luke Atme was the one who killed Kane Bullard? But let me ask you this. Why would he do that?
An excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright. Motive. Might you, my merry murderers, motive manifests.
Oh, that's the longest one he's had yet.
He alliterates a lot more in the anime, to be honest.
Nick, he's getting his second wind.
If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Rondelite, as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder. The only one with any motive we've seen is Rondelite. Isn't that right, Detective?
Indeed. According to my own research, the boy's motive is clear.
Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were.
I'd be honored to, Sir Old-Timer.
They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. Motive for murder.
I, Luke Acme, had no point of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Mask to Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Rondelite. And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Mask to Mask. That is why Mr. Delight thought fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
So the victim, Kane Bullard, blackmailed the defendant. This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. Oh, hi, Timmy. I'm sorry your flight's delayed. I know how much that sucks.
I'm so sorry, Jimmy.
A handwriting test confirms that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter. What? Okay, found in Rondelite's room, written by Bullard. Very well, Mr. Wright, to begin your cross-examination. No point of contact. Still who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Rondelite. If you don't want your true identity revealed to the world, come to KV Security at 1 AM on October 12th and bring $50,000. If you don't, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day instead. Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atme?
Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's alright.
When you said that this letter was addressed to Rondelite, his Japanese name, Aiga Hoshidake.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Hoshidake. Okay, sorry, I didn't have enough time to read that. But like it was given.
Aiga Hoshidake.
Okay.
It was originally intended for Diego Armando, but the director decided that the kanji for dake, meaning mounted, did not fit with Armando's smug personality, and therefore gave the name to Atme instead.
Who doesn't have a smug personality at all.
Yeah, it means I want love.
Aww. I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction.
Contradiction?
I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that. You want to talk. At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. So put 'em up, Mr. Trite. Why don't you show us what you got there, Junior? Indeed, time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. Crap, what is it? Is it this? Oh, it's asking about it said a red diamond, but the tier of Eminon is blue, so who are they actually talking to? Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Emanon, the stolen jewel. What about it? The problem is this jewel's color.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. Oh, foreshadowing! According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Emanon that Mask to Mask stole at all. And your point is, Mr. Trite? So you are trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for someone else. That is what you're trying to say, right, Trite? That is what you're trying to say, right, Mr. Right?
Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick?
Yes. This is who Kane Bullard was actually blackmailing. A little guy, you may not know him well, look at me. Just a little birthday boy named Luke Atme. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atme!
Do you have some sort of basis for that claim?
You have been personally involved in every single Mask to Mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen, and received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? Probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. That red diamond ring! Gee.
Gee.
That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you. Order in the court! Order, I say! It seems...
Okay, that... Number 15, so we're rapidly... Oh, sorry.
Gee.
17.
It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite. Uh-oh. I don't like the way he said that. Kane Bullard blackmailing Luke Atme? Are you for real? Yes, I am.
Nick, come on! Stand up to him!
Answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world. Yes, it certainly does. Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atme's identity public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So, just what was that identity? Atme killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret?
This is what it all comes down to, Nick.
The identity that Luke Atme wanted to so desperately keep secret was his identity as... an ace detective. No. Mask to Mask, a blackmailer. Luke Atme was a blackmailer.
Objection!
Hey now. Isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? And you said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atme. Are you saying that Atme was blackmailing someone else on top of that?
You have to admit, that does sound a little odd.
It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme. But Ron Delight was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So, did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident?
Yes. Just a few days after the Tear of Emanon heist. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Ron Delight was actually masked a mask. That is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. Delight steal his targets for him. Blackmail is quickly becoming a weird-sounding word. You're right. They've been harping on that word a lot this case. And that someone was none other than Luke Atme.
Silence! Now I see. It's all becoming clear.
Okay, we will make sure Luke Atme gets the chair. That's not blackmail, it's clearly an agreed envelope! What is?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless with the tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong?
How did you?
You say that I, Luke Atme, was blackmailing Ron Delight. In which case, I would naturally know all about his relation to Mask to Mask.
Well, yes.
Ron Delight started receiving plans from the second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed that first crime.
Luke Atme's back view really looks like that Knightley guy from Investigations 2.
Oh, you have no
It
idea.
does.
People. There's him and what's the other dude's name?
Richard Wellington.
Yeah, Richard Wellington. Those three dudes are drawn together a lot.
I just think of them as like a bunch of bananas because they all have the the yellow undercuts.
Yeah, I also think of them as the banana tree. Oh, hold on! Ah, Mickey! Jesus Christ!
Oh, is somebody misbehaving?
Yeah, Mickey's misbehaving. He just yanked the cord out of my headphones.
Oh no! Violence.
Mickey chose violence.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise. Let's see, what was that, like 14?
Oh, no, that is 16.
Oh shit! Oh,
we're coming up on 17, so if he goes past that, then
he might be coming up on his limit. In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atme know that Ron Delight was masked to mask? Where's that newspaper clipping? If he hits 18, he explodes. Or he's gonna make the courthouse bathroom explode. One of the two. I think I see it.
See what?
He's going to take the biggest shit of his life after this trial. When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into lots of mischief trying to be the center of attention.
What do you mean?
Oh, so now the theater kids are gonna call each other out on the stand. This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron Delight in his guard uniform. It seems that Mask to Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct! With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atme. That's when you learned that under his mask, Mask to Mask was really Ron Delight. What the? Wasn't he supposed to be Mask to Mask?
Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective. I can't believe it. He was just a slimy blackmailer.
What a fraud, trying to pass himself off as an ace detective.
Why you dare you expose me like that? I mean, I've never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective. And I'm also mask to mask. Can't you understand that?
He's got like a whole slasher smile thing going on. He kind of looks like Jeff the Killer in that sprite. I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why do you? How dare you? Oh, Jesus Christ. None of you compared to my genius, you're all...
Now you know how I feel trying to voice Old Bag.
It's enough to make one laugh. I almost wish I had, like, rehearsed that.
Don't worry about it. It's better than making yourself go out of breath trying to keep up with his insanity. I mean,
Yeah.
his normal testimony.
It's very normal.
It would seem we finally arrived at the real answer.
That was quite a performance by Mr. Atme.
Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atme. 17!
There's 17!
Okay, you don't get any more. The hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim. I would know that. I'm a Reinhardt main. What do you mean? I've already prepared to deliver my ruling. Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge.
You don't get much more in your face than that.
It appears that your claws aren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite. What do you... It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Atme was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder. That's right! That's why he's the one who killed Mr. Bull... But... There's still one thing you have yet to prove. What's that? Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can't prove it, if you can't prove that this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB Security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered. No! No way! Well, Mr. Wright, this is it. This is the final round. I've got to prove that Atme was at Mr. Bullard's office on that night.
But can you really prove that?
That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer. That night, Luke Atme was at KB Security, and the defense can't prove it. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But, if we hear more of Detective Atme's testimony... Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite. What do you mean? I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean. What? Have you forgotten? Luke Atme is here after we interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as mask to mask. No!
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all.
His love...
Gay rights.
Sorry! Gay rights! Is he when he says love wins out, is he talking about with Godot? Gay rights! Luke at me.
Hold on, I need to take a screenshot of this. Okay. I am the ace detective, as well as mask to mask. My verdict will verify that.
I am the ace detective, but not the arrow detective, therefore love wins out in the end.
Just as Ron delights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
That's a word.
I think we've made up worse words before.
Okay, that's enough deliberation over this witness. I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is...
Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and...
By then, it'll be too late.
Huh? Why?
Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law. And my favorite evening game show.
Double jeopardy?
Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else, unfortunately. Mr. Atme will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as mask to mask, which means he will be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned.
No way!
The fact that you are unable to prove Mr. Atme's guilt of that crime here means that he will never again be tried as Kane Bullard's murderer. You... What? Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron is proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Atme, will go free. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today. And as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning of this witness. Are there any objections? Then I hereby end the cross-examination of Luke Atme. Hello?
I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often makes mistakes as a result.
How did you...
Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets.
That voice! No way!
Long time no see, Phoenix.
R.I.P. Sexy.
Mia! Oh, Anne! This is the true power of the crime channeling technique. I know that it's really Maya who's standing before me, but right now she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now, let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine.
Not yet. The testimony's not over yet.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today.
Yes, that's true, but...
Unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, this witness made a number of remarks.
Well, now you're a lawyer. It seems that love wins out in the end after all.
Does that statement need to be cross-examined? Do I need to press on it and be like, so who are you referring to when you say love wins out, Mr. Adby?
This is the trial for gay rights now, I guess.
Alright, this is the trial that will legalize gay marriage in all of Japanifornia.
Everyone say thank you, Luke Atme.
Luke Atme, champion of gay rights, everyone!
Okay. I am the ace detective as well as Mask the Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Rhonda Knight will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Yes, but these comments appear to have no importance whatsoever.
Very well. Then we shall prove their importance via cross-examination. At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that alright with you, prosecutor?
Is something the matter, Mr. Godot? Nothing.
Mr. Lawyer, it looks like you're one step too late. If you think such falsehoods would do anything to me, Luke at it.
Look at it! Let's hear it. It's true the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Mr. Godot, what are you?
This is what we agreed on. Very well then, Mr. Luke at me, I'm going to allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks.
The defense would like to hear why you declared the defendant to be the true murderer.
So please, give us one last bit of testimony.
Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last chance.
Yes, Chief!
Indeed, it is true that I was not in Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Rhonda Knight. And thanks to the keycard and the wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit, which is why he left no print. And the blackmail letter. The victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Therefore, all evidence points to that poor boy.
God, that is the longest testimony ever. This testimony actually seems to hold up pretty well. The witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All of his points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything.
But of course.
But how did you know about the emergency buzzer?
The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over all the documents. Is elementary, Sir Lawyer.
Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, Sir Lawyer? I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. We cannot postpone Luke Atmey's trial any longer. This is your last chance. Hang on a sec! Just one chance? It seems that the party's about to begin.
Well, Phoenix?
There isn't any evidence that contradicts with that testimony.
So it would seem.
What do you mean, so it would seem?
Listen, Phoenix. Pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our last chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it.
Oh, 18! 18!
Oh, that was 18! I was about... No. Oh, that was 18. Dude, we counted.
You're lying! You're sneaking an extra cup of coffee!
Dude, you snuck an extra one in there.
It seems like the time has come to put an end to this trial. I have to find a fatal contradiction in this testimony. And I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find the contradictory remark and press it.
Remember, you only get one chance.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination. Okay. How many statements are in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11! But we only need the 9th statement. Mr. Atme, about this last remark.
Objection!
You still don't get it, do you, Trite? This isn't the time to be pressing the witness on every little statement. I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Godot. Well, what? Mr. Atme, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder.
How can you say that?
Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atme? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. Is that correct?
Indeed. That's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof.
More like your deductions prove that you're a fool.
I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean?
For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty. When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron Delight was dressed as Mask to Mask when he went to the scene of the crime? That was... it was just a few hours ago. Back when my Styx cup was looking at me with a cold stare.
Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry. I just never had a chance to mention it up until now.
That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only people who should have known this are those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Abney? There's no way that you should have known about that! You were in the next courtroom being tried as Mask to Mask. So then, enlighten us! Just how did you know about that piece of information? Come on! This detective must have known about it! He probably had plenty of chances to find out beforehand. And it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delight was wearing his Mask-to-Mask outfit. There is one, and only one way, for Detective Atme to have found that out. Only one. One way, you say? Please recall, if you will, Mr. Delight's testimony. How is everyone saying star? I'm scared.
The office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
An Atme-shaped shadow. For a second, my client witnessed the real killer. But Mr. Delight never saw his attacker, so there's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atme. It's with that statement that I'll turn this case on its head. Just what are you implying? Mr. Delight saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn that statement around, it stands to reason that the real killer had also seen Ron Delight. Impossible.
Whoa!
What? Luke Atme? Detective Atme, you saw Mask to Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron Delight. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing. Oh dear.
Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was forced to create one by myself. Here I am, the tragic clown.
I forgot he starts an earthquake. I hope no defense attorneys and their young sons were in the elevator at this courthouse when that happened. That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time. What an awfully complicated incident. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme, who was in turn blackmailing Ron Delight. Blackmailed... Upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atme tried to frame Ron Delight. He then claimed to be guilty as mask to mask in order to escape his true crime. My god, blackmail doesn't even sound like a real word anymore. And to that end, he came up with this plan, to use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi. At any rate, it would seem we've finally found the truth.
Please, me.
I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man. Besmirching him with the title of murderer.
Don't ignore me.
I didn't realize you were there. Oh, why wouldn't he be?
About the verdict.
I know, you never committed any murder.
So that's right. I'm so glad you understand that, but... I really am mask to mask.
Uh-huh?
This is thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it you said? It's a double jeopardy?
Now that you mention it, I've been careless. Careless? What do you think, Mia?
As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime in which he was once found innocent.
Then, Mask to Mask is really innocent?
It would seem so. For now.
For now? And now then, this court finds the defendant not guilty! Yay! And Detective Gumshoe cut confetti for all of you again, so everybody say thank you, Detective Gumshoe!
Thank you, Detective Gumshoe. Boy, this is really lucky. Oh, wait, this isn't so good after all. You see, the thing is, I still am massive.
You did it, Phoenix.
Thanks, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. That's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days.
Oh?
I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't take everything so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems kind of torn these days.
You mean about becoming the master of the Karine Channeling School?
Becoming the master means saying goodbye to our mother.
Misty Faye, right?
Watch over her, will you, Phoenix?
Of course.
Well then, see you around.
Mia.
Mr. Wright. I don't know what to say.
Congratulations, Mr. Delight.
Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though, now, because this is happening.
Come on! Just be happy already!
Maya.
You've been cleared of the murder charges, and got off as Mask to Mask to boot!
But in exchange, I lost everything.
Huh? What do you mean?
Stealing security information at KV Security, becoming mask to mask. I did it all for one reason. Her.
You mean your wife, Desiree?
He hates criminals more than anything.
Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she?
He always said how much she hated sneaky criminals. I knew that, but once I got fired from KV Security and lost all the money I had, she wouldn't have any reason to stay with me. And I thought she would leave me for sure.
So, that's why you became mask to mask?
Yes, it's all over now. Chosen goal can never be put back together.
That's not true! Right, Nick?
Right.
Really? Can we go back to the way things were?
You'll be fine! And Nick can prove it!
I can? I kinda wish you would check with me first. Mr. Delight, even if a bowl is broken, there's always a way to put it back together.
Oh,
Like the
so
sacred
funny.
urn!
The sacred urn. Desi was the one who found this.
Desiree, your wife. She's always believed in you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything.
Ah, there you are.
Miss Delight!
You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But, I suppose you don't want anything to do with me, do you? Ronnie, why didn't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you'd quit KV Security. I never imagined that you were really mask to mask either.
Miss Delight, what are you going to do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you?
Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast there's no way he could ever get away.
Aww.
But didn't you say that you hated criminals?
Oh, I only hate people who act all cowardly and sneaky. Like that detective.
I see.
My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them, like a man.
Like a like a real man.
I just love a man who's so chivalrous.
Chivalrous?
I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement. Desi.
Desiree, you really love Ron, don't you?
Nicky boy,
Yes?
I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us.
Oh, well, take care of yourself.
You too, Nicky boy.
Gulp. I can feel my face going red.
Mr. Nick! Mystic Maya! Congratulations!
Talk about bad timing.
Mr. Nick! How could you? With another man's wife! In front of Mystic Maya! I'll never forgive you! Never! Ever!
Fade to black as Phoenix is knocked unconscious
Phoenix
by an
Wright
8-year-old.
has fucking died.
Wait, how old is she again? Is she 8 or is she younger?
She's 9 as of this case. So just as the case came to a close, so too did my consciousness. Ron said a broken bowl can never be put back together. But I know that's not true. I mean, just look.
Aww.
Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together even better than before. And thus the curtains close on the Stolen Turnabout. So, next time we'll begin one more standalone case and then get into two back-to-back really meaty cases. So, that'll be fun. Neil, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for guest voicing on this case. It was a blast.
Thank you for having me. I also had so much fun.
Yeah, it was just so great, like, having someone to co-host with. That was really fun, and you did an amazing job on all your voices, which was like the entire main cast of this case.
Well, I love them all, so I put a lot of passion into that.
They're really lovely. Like they're definitely like my favorite standalone case of this trilogy. They're just so fun.
They're so good.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming to the stream tonight. I really appreciate the company. I hope you had fun, because I certainly did. And I will see you all on Friday night, same time as always. Good night, everyone.
I will also see you, but on the other side of the stream. Bye, everyone.
All right, good night.